Hey everybody, thank you and welcome. This is the OBee Sports Talk Show. Let's just get down and get serious here. It's been a while since I've done one. It's been a couple of weeks, at least a week or so. Did not do one last week. So let's just rock and roll it on out here. Got a lot of stuff to try to cover here on the show. Really just to start off with, I know I was probably going to start with baseball news, but we'll start with football news, NFL news. My bracket is just messed up. I did not do a very good job of making predictions this year at all, and it continued in the playoffs as we're down to the final four in the playoffs. Next stop, down to 2, which will take us to the Super Bowl. So let's just go ahead and dive right into that and some other NFL news, and then we'll cover baseball news and a few things to touch on about the Buckeye basketball, and then we'll wrap up this show for the week. The NFL news, we got the AFC matchup, the Ravens and the Patriots. I did not have the Patriots in there. I had the Steelers. Fortunately, they got beat up by the Broncos in overtime, and then, well, that left me out there. So I got one left in my final four. Still have one of my teams could go to the Super Bowl, but it's a team. It's two teams that I don't really like either one. You know, I do not like Baltimore, and I do not like New England. There's many different reasons. We could touch on that a little bit here the time we have. First off, Baltimore, you know, is the former Browns team. Is a team that Art Modell had in Cleveland. He took to Baltimore. Ozzie Newsome stayed on there as general manager, and they've drafted nothing but complete studs ever since. As far as Cleveland, enough said. You know, we don't need to say any more than that, you know, about them, because it's just been, it has just been a mess, and we'll just leave it at that. I really don't have anything to say about that. I don't like Baltimore. I don't like Ray Rice. I don't like anybody on that team. Ray Lewis. Don't like any of those guys because it's the former Browns team. New England, don't like them either. I just think I don't like Tom Brady. I don't like Bill Belichick because Bill Belichick couldn't do anything when he was in Cleveland, and then he goes to New England, he wins championships. I mean, come on. This New England team was just as similar as those Browns teams in the 90s. Is that Bill Belichick's fault or Art Modell's fault? Well, that definitely is the debate every Cleveland fan's probably kicking themselves, asking themselves now, because we don't know either. I don't like Tom Brady. I think he's cocky. I think he got lucky to take over a football program at New England because they had a guy by the name of Drew Bledsoe. If Drew Bledsoe never gets hurt, we don't hear anything about Tom Brady. For crying out loud, he was a 6th-round draft pick. Good for him. You're a 6th-round draft pick. You're doing great. Good for you. But I don't like you because you're cocky. I know you're good and everything, but come on, seriously. It don't matter who the quarterback is for New England Patriots. They can win football games. Seriously, come on. And you got Bill Belichick, who's obviously proves a good coach. So, and you got good management, you get yourself the right players. So what? Any team can do that if they get the right system in place. I mean, so let's just forget. I don't care who wins that game, to be honest. Wish they could end in a tie and either one of them could go to the Super Bowl because I don't want either one of them in there. But I did pick Baltimore to the Super Bowl, so I'm going to stick by Baltimore. I think Baltimore's defense in the long haul of it will shut down New England's offense when it needs to, and Baltimore will get the job done. I may be wrong again. I don't give a rat's who's in this side because I'm going for the NFC once the Super Bowl hits anyways. On to the NFC. The 49ers and the Giants. Tough road to get here. I mean, they had to beat some good teams. You know, they beat Green Bay, and one of them beat Green Bay, Giants, and San Francisco beat the Saints. Shut down. Well, maybe not necessarily shut them down because they outscored them. They ended up outscoring them, but it really came down to who had the ball last in that game. San Francisco has definitely proven that they're a good football team, and it's at San Francisco. On the flip side, the Giants pretty much dominated the Green Bay Packers, and I don't think anybody really expected that whatsoever. But they did, and so it makes it for an intriguing matchup between San Francisco and the Giants. An unproven quarterback in Alex Smith, who has definitely shown that he is worthy of a team keeping him. That kind of begs the question that I've been struggling with all this season by seeing what happened with Alex Smith, because you hear about stuff that's been going on with him and how San Francisco stuck by and all this stuff. I feel like that's what the Browns need to do with Colt McCoy. Or they should have done with Brady Quinn, or, whatever. But the situation is the Browns are sitting there thinking, what do we do? If I'm seriously thinking, what do we do at this point? Do we keep Colt McCoy, knowing that maybe he can turn into something if we can put the right system around him? He can do what Alex Smith did this year for San Francisco. And San Francisco is one game away from the Super Bowl. And 2 games from win the whole thing this year. And nobody, I don't think, had them where they were. So it really makes for an intriguing matchup, because the Giants, everybody pretty much counted them out when they started that little downfall there they had. But they turned on when they need to, and they won the division. And they've rode into the playoffs. So who's going to win there? I think it's really a toss-up. I think it's going to come down whose defense plays better. Maybe come up to who has the ball last, and who can shut down their... And maybe even who can stop their playmakers. For San Francisco, their biggest playmaker is, besides the running game, Frank Gore, has been their tight end, Vernon Davis. Can Vernon Davis? I think that's his name, the tight end for San Francisco. Can he be shut down by the Giants' defense? And for the San Francisco 49ers, there's not much of a running game there, but Eli Manning has established a passing game by throwing to guys like either Mario Manningham when he's in there, or Victor Cruz, or Hakeem Nicks, and hitting his tight ends. So really it comes down to the simple thing is, who's going to stop their playmakers? Victor Cruz and Hakeem Nicks have been the playmakers for the Giants, along with a little bit of the running game, where San Francisco it has been Vernon Davis and Frank Gore. So whatever team comes out stopping those key players when the game's on the line, maybe in the last drive by one of the teams to go up and win the game, that's where it's going to come down to. Because both these defenses and offenses showed they could put up points, and they did it against 2 of the best quarterbacks, and they outperformed them. So really, it's a toss-up game. I will go with San Francisco because it's at home, and I think the crowd's going to add a little bit more to that. So that's what I pick. So I got the 49ers and the Ravens in the Super Bowl now in these last 4. Who knows if I'll be right, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Super Bowl here to come, about who's in there, and we'll kind of get big-time scoop on what's going on there. Some other NFL news. Jeff Fisher takes over to coach the St. Louis Rams. Interesting, the team that he's going to is the team that beat his Tennessee team in the Super Bowl. So he's going to go coach the Rams, and he thinks that's a good fit. It sounds like it kind of reminds him a lot of the St. Louis Rams team, the Tennessee Titans team that he had with the Tennessee Titans, that this Rams young team with a lot of young talents, anchored by their running game and Steven Jackson. So it'll kind of interesting to see what happens with Jeff Fisher there. Then we have Jim Caldwell, who is out as they got fired by the Indianapolis Colts. Good move or bad move? Really hard to say. And it really becomes a question, what's going to take place with Peyton Manning now? Will Peyton Manning stay, knowing that they're pretty much going to be cleaning house now? Is he going to stay? And then Andrew Luck possibly coming in. What's going to happen with Peyton Manning there? And who will be the next head coach at Indianapolis? Could impact on what Peyton Manning does. Touch on some baseball news, and we'll try to wrap up with Buckeyes basketball a little bit. Some MLB signings. Not a whole lot of big splashes yet because Prince Fielder is still out there, still looking for a new team, as the pitchers and catchers are about a month away from reporting spring training, whether it's to Florida, Arizona. So it's going to be an exciting time of the year for me, because I love it when baseball season gets underway, whether it's just spring training or the regular season. I'm just excited for it to start. Tampa Bay Devil Rays signed. So back to that, Tampa Bay Devil Rays signed Luke Scott, who has had some pretty good years with Baltimore Orioles. He's shown some pretty good pop, and he's a pretty versatile player. He can play pretty much all 3 of the outfield positions, maybe a DH or play a little first base if they need be. So I think that was a pretty good sign for them, as they're looking for some punch a little bit, maybe with their offense, because they know their pitching's there and they're trying to compete with Boston Yankees. I think Baltimore would like to have kept them. I just don't think it was in the cards for them to do that. But I think Luke Scott's a good addition. The Cubs re-signed Kerry Wood. Not really sure what to make of that, because Kerry Wood has not been the Kerry Wood that we saw when he was a starter. He experimented as a closer. It hasn't gone well, so it'll be interesting to see what they do now. Middle relief, back to starting position. But that's that. Kevin Kuzminoff will go to Kansas City. He couldn't quite find his niche and produce when he was with the Indians or the A's. So maybe this is just what he needs, just a third team, just a young team scrapping to give him some more playing time. Maybe he can find that he can be pretty productive. That's really the only big signings going on in baseball right now. The one we're still waiting on is Prince Fielder. And to cover a little basketball news for Ohio State, they got a big win against Indiana the other day. Lenzo Smith Jr., I think is his name. I could be wrong on that. Went off for 28 points, a career high for him. And really nice for them to bounce back against Indiana at home. And even though it was at home, Indiana kind of got the better of them because we got in foul trouble. And it was good to see them bounce back and take care of them. It was like 80-63, so they really dominated Indiana. They next host Nebraska, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Yeah, that should be an interesting game again, because Nebraska's starting to find their rhythm a little bit in the Big Ten, maybe. You know, I think they won a couple here and there, and they're just trying to sort of, try to find their place and try to, maybe they learn something from the first time around that they can plug in the second time. We'll see how it goes. As they will play the Buckeyes. I believe it's on Saturday. I could be wrong in there. So, the Buckeyes really don't have any. They're at number 6. I don't think they have anything to really worry about at this point. They're definitely going to get to the dance, the NCAA tournament. Hopefully they can make that run the Big Ten still and get a high, get the number 1 seed or whatever, and then take it through the Big Ten tournament. So still a lot of basketball will be left played in the Big Ten, as they're all starting to really get into the groove of playing against each other. Well, that's all the time I have for today on this OBee Sports Talk Show. I just thank you all so much for listening. And this is OBee out. Peace!